Rink Wide, Vancouver, pregame, postgame, every game, presented by Bodog. From sports odds to free casino games, make a play at bodog.net. Wadden and JPat here with you with another edition of the pregame show as the Canucks are in Hogtown. They're in Toronto, getting set to face the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Oakville, Ontario native Spencer Martin going to get the starting goal for the Canucks.
Yeah, big Saturday night, big stage in Toronto, Hockey Night in Canada, and Spencer Martin gets the call. And I can't say that I'm shocked by this, given his recent performance. He started the year with an overtime loss in Columbus. Since then, he's won his last 3 starts, including the game the other night in Ottawa to kick off this road trip, where he was really good in the first 40 minutes and gave the Canucks the chance to find their game and ultimately beat the Senators. So it is Spencer Martin instead of Thatcher Demko. Probably means the Demko gets the call in Boston tomorrow, but this one's all about finding a way to bounce back from a subpar performance as a team in Montreal on Wednesday night. And we'll see if Spencer Martin can deliver for the Vancouver Canucks against the Leafs.
With Spencer Martin making his debut in Toronto, we asked you this today. In which visiting rink would you most like to watch the Canucks play? JPat, I went down to Climate Pledge recently down in Seattle. Great rink down there. Really glad I got to. It was on a bucket list for me. But which one is it for you? Because you've seen them all outside of Seattle, though.
Yeah, Seattle and the new Islanders building are the two that I have not been in. I guess Mullet Arena as well in Arizona. Yeah. Not sure that I'm putting that on any list. Maybe a no-fly list, perhaps. It was always Madison Square for me, and so when I got the job to go and travel and cover the Canucks, was able to check that one off, and it didn't disappoint. Was there, I think, for 3 games over the 3 years that I was out on the road with the Canucks, and it was always fun. But I will say that Toronto on a Saturday night, just the history and knowing what a big event it is on Hockey Night in Canada, that was a pretty cool experience as well.
All right, so no Pearson tonight, and it looks like they've mixed up the lines for the Canucks.
Yeah, life begins without Tanner Pearson, who hasn't been terribly productive, and I'm not sure that they're going to miss him an awful lot, but somebody's going to slide into that spot. And it looks like Ilya Mikheyev, the former Leaf, in his first game against the team that he used to play for. You'd think that maybe he'll have a little extra jump there. He's going to slot in on the left side with JT Miller and Brock Besser. We're still on watch for Besser's first goal of the season. Maybe it comes tonight. He scored in Toronto last year when the Canucks beat the Leafs. In fact, the Canucks swept the Leafs with 2 wins in the 2 tries against Toronto last season. But we'll be watching Ilya Mikheyev and see what he can do. And then from there, you've got Nils Höglander, who's going to get a chance to play on the right side with Elias Pettersson and Andrei Kuzmenko and Vasily Podkolzin with Bo Horvat and Connor Garland. That's your top 9 for the Vancouver Canucks. Dakota Joshua was a scratch the other night. Looks like he will slide in. So essentially, Joshua gets the spot that Tanner Pearson leaves behind with that hand injury that's going to keep him out of the lineup for the better part of a month now.
A lot of firepower up front for the Maple Leafs. We know all about the names. Looks like Myers and Hughes going to be the shutdown pair tonight.
Yeah, and so it's not just switching line combinations up front. The Canucks throwing a little bit of a different look on the back end at the Toronto Maple Leafs. And let's be honest, defense has been the issue for the Canucks individually, but collectively as well. Just way too many goals given up. And so Quinn Hughes, who's spent most of the season with Luke Schenn, looks like he's going to be paired with Tyler Myers. And we'll see what they can do to try to keep that firepower that the Leafs possess in check. It looks like it's going to be Oliver Ekman-Larsson along with Ethan Bear. And Riley Stillman expected to draw back in. Jack Rathbone had a bit of a struggle the other night in Montreal. And so it looks like they go back to Riley Stillman, and he would be paired with Luke Schenn, the veteran, the former Leaf, as well. So I think that's going to be the game within the game is, can this Canucks defense core keep these Leafs in check tonight?
Not to sound like a broken record, but the last 2 games, not great starts for the Canucks. They're going to want to have a better one against the high-powered Leafs.
Yeah, we talked about the win over Ottawa, but let's be honest, the Canucks were dreadful in that hockey game, and it was because Spencer Martin was so good early on, kept them in the game, but even then, the Senators scored in the first minute of play. You thought the Canucks might regroup and come out charging in Montreal the next night. Wasn't the case. Again, a first-minute goal. So they've given up the first goal in 4 of their last 5 games. It's a dangerous way to live and a dangerous way to play in the National Hockey League. So they've had a couple of days off. Thursday was a full team day off. Friday, a practice day. Of course, they're getting the Leafs on the back end of back-to-backs. We'll see if the Canucks can capitalize on that and maybe pounce on a tired Toronto team looking for a much better start from the Vancouver Canucks tonight.
All right, let's get the scoop on the Leafs. Head to Toronto now and speak to our colleague David Alter from Rink Wide in Toronto.
Thank you, Andrew and Jeff. Here in Toronto, the situation is thus where Eric Källgren is the surprise starter once again against the Vancouver Canucks tonight. Last night, head coach Sheldon Keefe let it be known that Matt Murray was in fact not ready to return despite it looking like he was kind of inching his way from a return to an adductor injury, I should say. And so as a result of that, it was a choice this morning that they had to make between Erik Källgren and Keith Petruzzelli, and the decision was made that Erik Källgren, for the first time in his career, is going to get the start on back-to-back nights. Keith Petruzzelli, they just don't want to put in what is ultimately their fifth stringer in goal. He did sign an NHL-level contract to be called up to back up, but I guess they deemed that he is not ready yet. It's too bad. I personally would have liked to see what Keith Petruzzelli could do. He's had a 6-0 start with the Marlies this season, and Erik Källgren gave up that goal that he was pretty upset with himself about the other night against the Penguins, that just went right through his legs for the game winner. So that is an interesting call, and it should create for an interesting environment. The forwards appear to be the same. There were no line rushes. Of course, it was an optional skate, although Jordy Ben did come off early as other guys worked, so it looks like he might actually make his Toronto Maple Leafs debut against the Canucks, which he, of course, played for in the past. So that will be an interesting change on defense as well. So that's the situation here in Toronto. Going to send it back to you guys.
Many thanks to David for that one. Yeah, the Leafs coming off that loss, JPat, but some milestones could be reached tonight, particularly for their captain.
Yeah, John Tavares off to a nice start for the Toronto Maple Leafs. In fact, leads the team with 8 goals. His next one will be the 400th goal of his National Hockey League career. So it seems almost every night out, somebody chasing a little bit of history against the Vancouver Canucks. Tonight it's John Tavares, and we'll see if he gets to number 400. A little bit of a surprise. I don't know about you, but it kind of feels like Auston Matthews off to a slow start, at least by his standards. 60 goal scorer. He's sitting with 6 goals. He doesn't lead the Leafs in goals or points. He's got 6 goals. 4 of them have come on the power play. But this is a guy, Andrew, as you know, has absolutely owned the Vancouver Canucks in his time in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, that leads me to my Bodog best bet, and it's centered around Auston Matthews. Anytime goal scorer, Auston Matthews at minus 130. He has torched the Canucks through his career. 19 games played, 21 points, but JPat, 17 of them are goals.
Yeah, I mean, he's an unstoppable force. He's scored in 4 straight against the Canucks, has 6 goals in those last 4 games. So I think that's, I know that you need a little bit of a rebound, kind of like the Canucks themselves. That's not a bad bet. I don't think it's ever a bad bet to put a little money down on Auston Matthews finding the back of the net, especially against a guy like Spencer Martin. That's going to be part of the challenge here. So we'll be watching to see if Auston Matthews comes up for the Leafs, but also if he comes through for you on your best bet tonight.
All right, I need Auston Matthews to do something for me with my best bet. Who do you need to do something tonight from the Canucks?
Well, I'm going to go to the top of the food chain for the Vancouver Canucks. Elias Pettersson, big stage, Saturday night. He's off to a nice start, but I'm going to ask him to do something specific tonight. And this is his 24th birthday. Man, they grew up quickly in front of our eyes. But EP40 celebrating his 24th birthday today. I want to see him score on the power play. This is the 15th game of the season for the Vancouver Canucks. He hasn't scored on the power play yet. And we know that that one-timer is a lethal weapon, and the Canucks like to move the puck around to him in that right face-off circle. He hasn't found the mark yet. And quite frankly, I find that he doesn't have the puck on his stick enough on the power play. It still feels like the power play is filtering through JT Miller and Quinn Hughes on the other side. I know they try to get Pettersson his looks, but he is their most talented playmaker. I'd like to see him get a little more involved, have the puck on his stick, be a little more creative. It doesn't always have to be the one-timer. He can beat you in a lot of ways. He's that talented. So I'm looking at EP40 tonight to be my do-something guy, but particularly on the power play, it just feels like he's overdue to cash in when the Canucks have the man advantage. And by the way, the Canucks power play has been terrific all season, but it hasn't been great on this road trip. 0 for so far in 5 attempts between Ottawa and Montreal.
All right, the Canucks are looking to cash in Toronto, the start of a big weekend. Hogtown tonight, Boston tomorrow. Let's see what the Canucks can do against 2 of the powerhouses of the NHL. This has been another edition of the Rink Wide Vancouver podcast presented by Bodog. For Jeff Patterson, I'm Andrew Wadden. Remember, Rink Wide is the show that always scores.